I was out running this morning and I went by this little demonstration, and I wasn't sure what it was, but it was Lincoln County reproductive rights activists. And I thought, well, when I finish my run, I'm going to come back up here and do a little interview and see what they had to say. So here it is, and tell me what you think in the comments. Hello, this is Mark Daniels of Mark's Inspiration. We're here today with the pro-life protesters. Would that be?
No, I think we are with Lincoln County Reproductive Rights Advocates.
Okay.
We developed 7 months ago.
They're voicing their opinion, and I wanted to come here and ask them a few questions. I'm not sure if you can hear me. The problem is I want to speak up real loudly. So
All right.
I'm not angry, of course. Okay. So, what you're here doing? What is your point, or what is there abortion? And is that what you're here promoting? Abortion, or what?
50 years ago today, in 1973, is when Roe v. Wade. Every year, women would come together and they would celebrate a Roe v. Wade of choice. People having the choice.
I think the problem is
It being a case-by-case scenario, and now there is no case scenario. If
Well,
I
I
get
mean,
raped and pregnant
a little bit
tomorrow,
closer that way.
I have no choice but to give birth to that baby, even at great expense to my health. If I have any more children, Dr. Story said I personally will die. I can't get clipped. I've tried everything that we can think of, and different things have happened, but it'll be my fault if I end up that way. So what we've decided is 50 years. We are still celebrating regardless what happened in the courts or not. We are still speaking up for the women who came out and stood in the first place. And I think it was just as cold when they were doing it then. And we've done it every year, and we're not stopping this year. There's a march going on in St. Louis, but this is our first time in Lincoln County because we feel that we need a voice here. There's a lot of us, and even though they're standing today in St. Louis, they're with us as well. So we decided to come up here and make sure that we do have a voice in Lincoln County.
Okay, that's understandable. What you said about having abortion in those certain circumstances, but do you believe that people should have abortion just because they maybe carelessly got pregnant, didn't use contraceptive, and they just decided they didn't want to?
I think their business is their business.
Okay, well, let me ask you this then. I have sons. I hope they can hear us. I'm not sure. I have sons that are 14 years old and 22. Now, if they were trying to go to war to protect their country, to risk their life for that, shouldn't they have the right to say, I don't want to go to war?
Okay, if they have that ability, I think each person. I think we'd be happier if we had soldiers over there who wanted to fight. Every soldier, every person.
So you want soldiers to protect you, but do you think they should be mandated by the government to go and give their lives?
I think that's a conversation I hadn't given much thought as much into, and I can talk to you about that. And I do my research and I find out more about it.
Well, I consider it similar to this, but these, they're still. When you consider their baby is alive, when it exits the womb or before?
And I think we go right back to conversations of, I think that it should be illegal for each person to have that decision. We can conversate and have about all day long when a baby becomes a baby, or because I've given birth and I've had 2 children with inside. But here's the thing, no one's looked at me and said, you have to right now. You have to. Now that's the case. Now women have that, and that's what we're out here today. We can do what ifs all day long. But right now,
that's a situation which actually happens in life. Men do have to go to war and die, and babies are born and aborted. They're alive when they're brought out, like birth abortion. They are alive when they're brought out.
That's a deflection argument. That's a big logical fallacy right there. For one thing, those are two completely different situations, okay? We're here because I can only speak for myself, but I personally don't think that one human being has the right to survive off of another's without the carrier's permission.
Okay,
So for me, it's not about when it becomes.
What about when the baby's alive?
It's not. But then it's its own person. It's not tied to. A woman doesn't have to give her body to keep it alive anymore.
I understand that, but when a baby's aborted and it's alive, when it's aborted and it's killed.
Except that doesn't happen.
That
That's
never
something.
happens.
That's something that pro-life folks want to push and say women are running in at the 8th month and getting abortions. At 8 months, that's a birth. That's not an abortion for one thing, and that's not happening. People
what you're
aren't
telling
running
me
out
that
and getting
no
8-month
baby
abortions
is
unless
ever
it's for the life of the mother. You cannot walk into an abortion clinic at 8 months and they're going to abort you. Because it's a birth. It's a delivery.
I used to run a pro-life ministry. I was praying in front of Planned Parenthood constantly. And that was an argument that I used a lot was the partial birth abortion. And then when I started, and that was, I mean, because that's concerning. That's
Does it
terrifying.
happen? Does it ever happen?
I'm not saying that it never has happened. I mean, we've all heard of, Gosnell, all of those abortion doctors that have done terrible things, doctors that have done terrible things.
Right.
But I mean but that's not the norm. The women who are having to make really complicated choices
at first trimester.
Yes, but the
Vast
women who are
majority.
having to make really complicated choices at 8 months pregnant, they're not. Those babies are wanted.
Do you guys personally know women who have had abortions and talk to them?
Absolutely.
And what is your experience? I know some, and they regret it. And
I
they
think
have a
that
hard
because
time.
of
They have nightmares
society's-
about it. I guess everybody's different, but that's been my experience.
And I
So
love
your
that you point
experience is
that out.
different.
Ours is, what if the people that you were talking to and that they got the abortion, if only there was a place where you could sit down with a therapist, someone could sit you down as well with the doctor, and you could make an informed decision
I agree, but that
each
does
and
not
every
exist
time.
today, does it? Because
And
they were
Planned,
just-
isn't that a shame? Because of the reversal of Roe v. Wade in June, because Planned Parenthood that everyone hated so much, that's what they did.
Well, this was years
I went
before
in.
that, and none of these women that I know had any counseling or was offered any whatsoever.
And
Well,
the saddest part is because it's shame.
we're talking
because
about now,
if you
though.
don't talk about,
Yeah.
and that's
We're not
great.
talking
You
about
just
50
focus
years ago.
where we're at because it was
It
talked
was
in
only,
shame.
about 5 years ago, so 10 maybe.
And maybe if
Well,
you
there
could
was
speak
counseling
more
available
about it.
5 and 10 years ago, for sure.
May
not
have
if you're
been, but it
talking
wasn't
to
offered. It
pro-life.
wasn't
Now, some
offered.
people may not have known that it was, because in areas like this that are like a desert of information when it comes to that are often pointed towards places that are, well, what's the word I'm looking for? You probably know what I mean. The birth, the places that you go to and they think they're getting one service. but it's
Pregnancy
really,
Resource Center,
That's it, thank
which
you.
I
couldn't
have-
think of the name of it.
What is it?
Pregnancy Resource Centers.
Like Thrive, Birthright.
Correct, and those are bastions of misinformation, and the reason I am comfortable saying that is that I've seen people that have gone in with hidden cameras and videos, and there's even been cases where they're shown an ultrasound that they're told is their baby, and it's like this, 7 or 8 months in the womb, fully looking baby, but really they're only 8 weeks or something. So they're being told, look at your baby, look, it looks so, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of misleading and misinformation that can follow with that. Now, again, I'll go back to my original stance, I guess is what I want to say, which for myself would be that, so say you were in a car accident, okay? And it was your fault, the accident was your fault. You ran a light, you smashed into someone. And when you wake up in the hospital, you are, the person you hit is on life support, and the only person that can keep them alive is you, for whatever reason. They need your kidney, or they're attached to you for some fashion. Their organs are damaged, and so they say the only way this person can live, and let's say this person was like a well-known concert pianist, okay, and they are, somebody that's revered and adored by, a lot of people, and the only way that person can stay alive is to be attached to you for the next 8 months. Can you be forced to keep that person alive? Can you be forced to give your kidney, or just be somehow, have a connection connecting the two of you, and that's the only way that person's going to live?
But that person didn't make a choice to have that situation happen.
Correct, but you made a choice because you ran that light. So can you still be forced, though, to keep that other person alive legally?
Well, you're forced to go to jail if you're drunk and driving. You have an accident. They put you in
Well,
jail.
maybe you weren't
and you're
drunk.
forced
I
to
mean,
pay.
maybe-
Either way, it was your choice. You chose to get drunk and you chose to drive the car.
But can you be forced to keep that person? Can
So,
you be
but
forced
tell
to
me,
use
is your
your
position-
body? Let me finish, please.
Okay.
Can you be forced to use your body to keep that other person's body alive? Never mind the jail.
All right,
That's
I'll answer the
aside.
question. So then, at that logic, then men shouldn't have to go to war and fight. I shouldn't have to risk my life for you, but we are forced to risk our lives
That's
for
a good,
you.
I mean, listen, we're here today to talk about
I'll fight
women.
for
No,
your
we're
right
talking
to
about.
go to
Aren't
war.
we
We're here to
talking?
talk about women's
Aren't we talking
rights
about life?
to get
Aren't we
an
talking about
abortion.
life? We're not.
It's a sideshow. I
don't
mean, to be
understand what you
honest
mean.
with you, I'm not for men being drafted either, but that has nothing to do with this. So, I mean,
So you're saying it's your.
But
it's,
you
no,
never
wait,
answered
it's
my
your
question.
belief.
Can your
it's
body be? Can you be forced
Yes.
to keep the person in the hospital room next to you alive using your body?
In that case, it was your choice.
So you can be legally forced.
No, you can't be legally forced.
Exactly. Thank you. Women can't be legally forced. Even if it's another human being, even if you believe that it begins at the moment of conception, I don't believe that you can be forced to carry it, and whether it's 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or 8 months, or whatever the amount of time is.
Okay.
I don't believe that you can. I'm only saying legally. This is not a moral argument.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm not making a moral argument for what is the most moral. I've had unplanned pregnancies. I chose to keep my children. I'm a mother by choice, and I'm a mother for choice. Because
So
I don't
you believe you should have the choice to terminate the pregnancy at any time, correct?
So if it was for the life of the mother, yes, absolutely.
Okay,
If
but
it's life
otherwise
of the
you don't
mother,
believe that.
No,
So
I
a
believe
choice-
that it
a
shouldn't
choice-
be illegal. What we're here today, before we go into the hypothetical rabbit hole,
Well,
I
but
want us to
these
come back.
hypothetical things that happen. So it's not like.
Well,
it's
but
not
That's
like
why
these
it needs
things
to be
don't happen.
legal. And now
But-
it's no
But what
longer
about-
legal. It's
I
no
think
longer
that
about- we
that
don't
that
have
is there's a definite grasping at straws in that argument, and that's a person saying, oh, but what if there was this one case when the 8th month this woman just decided, man, I just really do not want this baby.
How
Do
many
I think she
abortions do we
should
have
run
every year?
into-
How many abortions are there a year?
I have
believe
no
it's in the
idea, but
hundreds
I
of
know that the
thousands,
vast
isn't it?
majority of them are first trimester.
Hundreds of
Can
thousands.
I give you a
Hundreds
different
of thousands.
Sure,
perspective?
here, let's be quiet. Speak up so we can hear you.
Absolutely.
One thing is my neighbor, I'm gonna leave it at that. She's trying for children, and she had a miscarriage, right? And unfortunately, she did not naturally pass the baby. Baby was dead. She had to go to the hospital, and they had to help her remove the baby. Now that becomes a medical term, and the medical term for ending a pregnancy, whether the baby's alive or not, is abortion. So when she was discharged from the hospital, it said medically assisted abortion. And she was like, I didn't just have an abortion. I wanted that baby and it died. But that is how it is medically coded. It is an abortion because you terminated the pregnancy.
So that would fall into those
ectopic-
statistics, I
yeah,
suppose.
it does fall into those
Yes.
statistics. That's why I fight, because I'm not like one of those ones that thinks, oh, but honestly, people don't get to 8 months and say, I don't want this baby. That baby has a name. At 8 months, more than likely, if they're like, I can't have this baby, it's gonna go up for adoption. That baby's gonna be born.
It's a birth.
And if we're looking
In the 3rd trimester, a baby exiting the uterus alive is called birth. It's not called a baby.
An abortion, a late-term abortion would be more like they find that the baby's heart is not there and the baby's brain is bleeding.
Or
And
missing.
they've decided
Because
that
there is-
the baby is suffering,
Right.
and it's better to end this pregnancy than to continue on, because the baby's going to die either way.
What about the man's rights and all this? The baby is the man's baby also, correct or not? When does it become the man's baby? He's
Again,
responsible. Well,
my-
let me finish, please. He's responsible for that child if it becomes born for the next 21 years. Okay? But he has no right to say anything about this. He can't push for abortion or against it. Why has he no rights when that baby is just as much
Because
his?
it's not in his body.
It's not, so then why should he be responsible for it when it's born?
Well, the reason he should be responsible for it when it's born is because if the woman does decide she does want to have it, there are expenses and there are needs that go along with that child. It's her body, so up until the time whether she decides to have a first trimester abortion or whatever, it is absolutely her decision, and it's not his. And any man that has sex with a woman that he's not married to or does not want to have children with should be absolutely prepared for either situation. This woman's going to go have an abortion, but I don't want her to. I want the baby. Or B, she's going to have this baby, and I am there for 18 years supporting that child. Any man that has sex with any woman he is not necessarily wanting to have a child with needs to take that in
Well, with all the
consideration.
contraceptives available, a woman should not be getting pregnant. I mean, very small percentage, correct? or not?
Right.
What's up with that?
I can say,
I
okay.
think men have like one vasectomy and a condom.
Can I tell you what,
Sure, go ahead.
what kind
The
of
men should
pushed
wear a
me
condom
over?
every single time.
The
Every
women should use
single time.
contraceptive every single time, correct
And
or
you
not?
know what? People can still get pregnant. Although I agree with you, it's much less likely if
Why
you're
do we take
using a
responsibility
condom.
for not getting pregnant? The men should wear condoms or have a vasectomy. What should the women do?
You know what I want to know?
Well, I tried to have
why is
two
no one
decided
out
they
there
couldn't
telling
get
men to not have sex?
Well, there are a lot of people on
I
YouTube
don't.
telling
I
them
almost
that.
never
Yeah.
hear.
It depends what you watch. We get fed whatever we watch the most of, so
Never
that's the way
heard-
that works.
I've got friends whose mothers or parents were very strict with them growing up. You're not to do this, you're not to do this, is our expectation of you. And they had brothers that almost never heard that same message.
Oh, boys are much more promiscuous. I agree.
Why
Here
is
we go.
that?
Let's
Another
wrap it
man
up.
yourself has said.
Boys
Hey,
are
thanks a
much more
lot.
Promiscuous?
Let's wrap it up. Thanks a lot. I
yeah.
appreciate your guys' time.
Really?
And
Wow.
thanks for
Do you have something
participating.
to